Morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Weekly Fuels Briefing for Thursday, June 18th, 2020. Let's take a look at the recent precipitation. Here we're looking at precip for the past week. It's been a very dry week across the Great Basin with virtually no precipitation, maybe a little bit across our far northern borders. And then, of course, we had the thunderstorm outbreak over the weekend, which was gave us kind of a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms, mostly on the drier side. Definitely resulting in some new initial attack and large fire growth there. And then we did have a few little isolated storms on the southern Sierra frontier, resulting in a few fires as well. The drought conditions remain pretty poor across the Great Basin, with our short-term eddy drought showing very extreme conditions over the southern half of Utah and into the Arizona Strip. And then the drought monitor, which is a little bit of a longer-term trend, showing more extensive drought further north, especially over southwest Idaho and even into southeast Idaho. The drought ongoing everywhere in the Great Basin. Our current ERC fire danger percentiles are shown here. Again, these values have continued to increase over the past week under the very dry and warm conditions that we've seen. We've got a few PSAs popping up above the 97th percentile here in Nevada and in southeast Utah. But a lot of these orange areas are indicating ERCs above the 90th percentile. Taking a closer look at the trends in Idaho, we can see most of these areas are approaching or at historical maximums, especially southwest Idaho, where we see those values have been at the historical maximums for about a week now. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a dip this weekend with some cooler temperatures and light precip, but then we see them skyrocket right after that as a high builds in next week, setting new historical records. Further east, same kind of story, very high values for the time of year, maybe setting new records by the end of the 7-day period. Recent fire activity in Idaho continues to consist of fast-moving grass fires, mostly in southwest and south central Idaho. There's a lot of cured grass on the landscape, and sagebrush is dropping much below normal, resulting in these extreme rapid fire runs. Southern sawtooth timber fuel moisture is very low for the time of year, and sagebrush is also setting record lows. And on the salmon chalice, the 100,000-hour values are dropping and hitting local thresholds for moving their zones into approaching critical. Moving to Nevada, we can see these values are also very high for the time of year. Starting with the northern portions of the area, those values are setting records. We'll maybe see another dip this weekend, but then increasing right after that with the hot and dry conditions moving back in next week. Further south, values continue to just increase with no relief in sight there. And then along the Sierra front, the values aren't quite as high in this region. And then we'll see a little bit of a dip with some precip expected maybe tomorrow, but then again, a really rapid increase after that. Recent fire activity is shown here. It's been a busy week, especially for the Ely area with the lightning activity. There were quite a few new fire starts, and just yesterday, a couple of them went large with over 1,000 acres and one over 6,000 acres, showing 6,000 acres of growth yesterday. Those fires are burning in grass, timber litter, understory, and PJ. Along the Sierra front here, Carson District seeing daily fires up to 60 to 100 acres burning mostly in the cheatgrass and sagebrush where available. To Utah and the Arizona Strip, these values are also very high for the time of year given the ongoing very dry and hot conditions that we've been experiencing. The values are all above normal above normal for the time of year, and here across northern Utah should be setting records or near records by the end of the 7-day period. Further south, the Arizona Strip is also very high for the time of year and will continue to increase over the next week, although still sitting below the historical records there. And on the Fish Lake National Forest here, same story, above normal for the time of year and possibly hitting those records by the end of the 7-day period. It was also a very busy week fire-wise for the folks in southern Utah and the Arizona Strip. In Color Country, the sawmill fire grew rapidly to almost 2,000 acres in one day in the pinyon and juniper. And on the Arizona Strip, multiple large fires popped up out of the lightning last week, burning in grass, sagebrush, and PJ, with the Rock Canyon fire here hitting almost 5,000 acres. And live fuel moistures continue to be at record lows. Looking at the critical fuel status from last week here on the left and some of the changes the local fuel specialists made for this week, we do see an increase in some of the zones moving into the critical status, especially across Nevada and the Snake River Plain. So definitely the recent hot and dry windy weather has continued to cause drying in the fuels, and we continue to see that playing out in our fire behavior. This concludes the weekly fuels briefing. Please check back next week for the latest updates.